Okay. So I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly. And this is just to, introduce Black and Scot to you and what we do. I know a lot of people on the call, we already would have seen this slide, or some of them have not, but I always like to start any session at all with this. And my name is Timi Adegunwa. I live in Scotland. I have spent over 10 years living in London. And then one day my husband decided that we're not living in London anymore. And long and short part of the story is here. We now live in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. And when I got to Scotland, I realized that there is quite a sizable gap when you're looking at the number of Black people that is in the workplace. And I decided to do something about it on my own. And before I started talking to other people, I started mentoring others and basically encouraging them to look for work. Because when I got to Aberdeen, it's either you were working in the oil and gas sector, or you're doing something that is not exactly what you plan to do, because the oil and gas sector was really huge then. And the job I got that brought me to Scotland was with BP, an oil and gas sector. My husband got another job, oil and gas sector. So both of us decided to move to Aberdeen. And then I started, training people one-to-one. I was skilled in information technology and project management. So I started training them, encouraging them to get jobs. And within 6 months that I was there, at least I know on the back of my mind, some of them have moved out of Aberdeen and some of them are still here. Within 6 months, I was able to get at least 15 people into work. And my husband encouraged me and said, keep doing what you're doing. Maybe there is a purpose for it. I didn't realize that purpose until much later that birthed Black and Scot. And a couple of years into that, I got pregnant, which I was praying for, and I had my baby, went for maternity leave. I came back from maternity leave in 2015, and the oil and gas industry have gone down. And it affected a lot of people. And luckily for me, I work in IT, so I was able to rejig my CV. And I threw my CV out, and before you know it, I started working. But I was traveling. I left my under 12-month-old baby, and I was traveling to Edinburgh, Glasgow, Leeds, London. At some point, I went to Milton Keynes just because I needed to be working. And before COVID, just in 2019, I got a job, and I was blessed to meet a Scottish man at the job. He was my program manager. He looked at me and asked me if I was crazy, if I could not open my mouth and ask if I could work from home. And I said, okay, no problem, I could try it. And that was how I started working from home before COVID in 2019. And gave me an idea that if I could work from home and I can still live in Aberdeen, that means a lot of other people can get that opportunity as well. So I talked to a few people that I've mentored through Black and Scot. Before I launched Black and Scot, that I would like to start this. Would you mind joining me? And that's how about 10 of us started, mentoring. And before then, COVID came. Everybody was totally locked down. We couldn't go anywhere. And so we started the training. We went from training to training, and we decided, you know what, before we even go anywhere further, we need to make this official. And then we decided to, explore opportunities and decided, you know what, Black and Scot must be official. And that was what birthed Black and Scot in we registered it officially as a nonprofit in 2021. And I would just, that's just to give you a bit of why Black and Scot came about. And what we do is to promote the inclusion of Black people, basically in not just the digital sector, digital tech and social sector, but because we started from the digital sector, that is our inroads to get people into work. I am the founder and the chair, so the organization is female-led. We are majority Black. We do have a few white mentors amongst us, and we also have an Asian supporter among us. But we consider ourselves all, in the minority gap, and we work together to make sure that we are supporting people as best as we could. We're a nonprofit. That means whatever income we get, we plug back into the business. And so far, we have been reliant on the membership fees. The Climate Chaos is one of our sponsors. They sponsor this event. And organizations like that partner with us, give us support either in terms of resources or cash. So that's how Black and Scot has been thriving till today. Okay, so moving on. Like I said, what we do is, in addition to our training, we go to organizations and promote diversity and inclusion and see how we can help them bridge the gap that they have in terms of attracting and retaining Black people. In the last couple of months, we have been able to get the nod of a few organizations, and because we're still working on the document, I'm not able to mention the names, but I can confidently mention that we have signed with CSEC. It's a cybersecurity organization. Because I work in cybersecurity, I have other colleagues that work in cybersecurity on the call, and we have been mentoring people in cybersecurity as well. So we're quite happy about that success. We got the handshake a couple of days ago. And because I am very passionate about women, I love women. I know that if they put their mind to something, they can achieve. And I'm so happy that at least among the facilitators tonight, we have 2 strong Black women that will be able to share their lived experiences about their successes in the sector that we're talking about today. And then we go to schools and universities to motivate young people to look at opportunities that could be available for them in the corporate world. What we're doing is backed by data. We got this information off of the government website. Scotland, we are still waiting for the census. Hopefully in a year or 2, we will get the accurate census for Scotland. But as at 2011, this is the information that we have. Only 15% of the workplace in the UK identified as Black. And in Scotland is significantly and embarrassingly lower. It's 1%. And if you're looking at women, it's even horrible. Ever since I've been working in IT, in cybersecurity in Scotland, every time I go into a team, I am the only woman and I'm the only Black or African woman there. So I'm hoping I can get many people into the field, as well as the green economy that we're talking about. Yeah, I've spoken about that. Why am I going there? Sorry. And this is what we do. We engage Black people wherever they are, wherever we can find them and see how we can support them. We provide training, webinars such as this one, and confidence building discussions. We review CVs and we'll also mentor one-to-one or in a group. And our programs, we have project management, cybersecurity, creative and creative opportunities as well. One, we are very big about diversity because that is what is, fueling what we do. And one of our initiatives is a climate change. We realize, and I will talk a little bit about that, when it comes to climate change and just transition in Scotland and in the UK, a lot of conversations are going on and Black people are excluded. And we want to use this opportunity like this to start championing and talking about climate change and the opportunities that come with it, or issues that come with it. I'm not going to bore you about our success story last year, but here we are in numbers. The cybersecurity, I'm proud to say we are now over 20. Sorry, I haven't updated that yet. And this is our highlight from last year. Today we are here because we identify that Black people or low-income communities are predicted to have a lot of negative impact when it comes to climate change. They are more vulnerable to cost, job losses, of course, health when it comes to air pollution, because some of them don't even know what is coming, or we are aware of what is coming, and we want to engage Black people, professionals like yourself that are going to be facilitating the session, and also engage policymakers and government. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to be speaking with some of these policymakers and the government representative regarding this subject. And what we plan to do is to inform and attract professionals and university students and provide opportunities about green careers and sustainable businesses, which is what we are here to talk about today. Where it is possible, we would encourage people to, upskill whatever skills they have now so that they can get opportunity in the green and sustainability sector. If we have to, we will create new pathways for new skills development. And for people that want to reskill totally from maybe engineering into sustainability or energy, green energy, we will encourage them to do that. And we will engage professionals to support us in doing that. We also have planned events and conferences, and one of them will be at some point climate change roundtable. Hopefully I'll be able to bring the speakers and facilitators back all the way from Canada. I don't know how much emission that is going to cost. And I might just be asked how I am justifying that, but hopefully I'll be able to get more people onto that webinar. But that's all. I don't want to blame my own about our sponsors and partners that we have at the moment, but I want to welcome you all to this session tonight. I really appreciate you, and I have taken a few minutes off of the time that we have. I want to appreciate everyone for joining us. And I'm introducing Stephen Wilden, Mary Takon, right? And Tony, who is my very good sister, Fatukun, on the call tonight. These three people are professionals in the green energy sustainability sector. And I would like them in no particular order to introduce themselves before we start the session tonight. Thank you.
Do you want me to go first?
Okay, yes, please.
Okay, cool. So hi everyone. My name's Stephen Wilding. I'm head of net zero neighbourhoods and green economy down here for London Borough, West London Borough. And that largely covers the stuff that you would expect in terms of trying to reach net zero by 2030. So social housing retrofit, EV infrastructure, all of that kind of thing. But my portfolio also has the green economy side. So kind of looking at green jobs and skills, some of the stuff that you touched on, Timmy, in terms of upskilling and reskilling opportunities for those in more vulnerable carbon intensive sectors, and kind of what are the jobs of the future going to be, and how do we make sure those are open in a kind of fair, equitable and just way. And yeah, that's kind of broadly the portfolio split across infrastructure and kind of economy policy.
Thanks, Stephen. That's really impressive. Well done. I am happy. I can see someone that looks like me in that role. So thank you very much. Mary?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Takon. I am having this session from Toronto, but I'm still resident in England. Yes, I work as a project manager primarily, and then I've been working in the green economy space for at least 8 years. And I am, yes, it's interesting because I started working in the green economy right from when I was in Nigeria, because I am Nigerian. And I had to keep explaining to people what my career objectives and goals were. And a lot of times people looked at me like I did not know what I was talking about, especially when I was in university and I read forestry. It seemed like, who does that? Who reads forestry? What are you talking about? Climate and climate action. Why are you so passionate about this obscure thing? But I'm very happy that today a lot of people, especially people in the Black community, are coming to terms with these conversations. And just to add a little to what Timmy said, I'm usually always the Black person, the only Black person in the room. most times when I see another Black person, I make eye contact with them and we wave and we say hi. We're so excited to see each other because when I go for conferences, in my place of work, when I go to see my clients, I am usually always the Black person in that space. So I would like to encourage those of us who are passionate about climate action to please look into getting work in the green economy because we need more people of color here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I am so glad again that I'm not the only one feeling weird when I find myself alone. I don't have anyone to go for lunch. I mean, when I'm going to lunch, I don't have anyone to talk about my hair, why I cut my hair, and why I'm not, doing this and that. That is so common in my community. So thank you for going ahead and, encouraging others too. And I am coming back home to my sister. She escaped from Aberdeen and we are missing her so much. I wish I can bring her back, but she had to go to England. I told her I left England for Scotland. Then you're leaving me in Scotland to go back to England. How fair is that? For that story, I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So as I'm Oluwatoyin Fatokun, my people call me Toyin, work calls me Olu. What do I do? So I'm a low carbon senior specialist with Folkestone and Hyde District Council. How I like to describe myself is I help the public sector to move towards a low carbon economy. So within my role, so I report on the carbon emissions for the council, which is the organization itself, and the emission sources, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, talking of energy wastes, water, business travel. We have a Folkestone and Hyde District Council where I work for big property owners. So we have a lot we're doing with the social housing decarbonization as well. In terms of being the only Black person, I've always been the only Black person within my organization. I remember when I first of all started my career 15 years ago, we went to an away day of over 100 and something people, and I was the only Black person there. I'm Black female as well. And even till date, so you kind of like, I chat with people, I do a lot of stakeholder engagement because obviously we have the community, the council, and then I work with the wider district to help to move towards net zero because our emissions is 0.38% of the wider district. And you talk to people, first of all, they even say Mr. Fatukun, and then they see me, and then my LinkedIn views go up every time I attend a meeting just because, but the thing is, like I keep saying, or my husband keeps saying, I've earned this role. I've been here for a while. I've been 15 years in this field. And for me, I initially just felt like we're the only one talking about it. Now everybody's talking about it. And I was that child back then, coming from a family of 5, everybody in accounting. And after because of Nigeria, almost 6 years of studying economics, I literally said I didn't want to hear any. And I remember finding a master's in energy and environmental technology, and the only thing my Nigerian father said, are you able to support yourself in the future with this? But it gives me great joy because, we were at a family reunion last year and all my brothers are, the big 4 accountants, sisters, and I'm probably the only one I can kindly say I'm totally enjoying the fact that I'm doing this, impacting positively on people and the environment. And definitely, I was really excited to be able to partner to bring more people into this industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Look, when you go to Nigerian families, Nigerian parents, if you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not an engineer, forget it. You're not a child. You're Black sheep. So, we're really happy that, times have changed. People are going into creativity, fashion, music. So if someone tells me today what they do all day is to count the clouds, I say kudos to you. As long as you are helping everyone live longer, richer and better, I don't mind. I really appreciate you for sharing that, and I can see that across the table, people that are addressing us tonight, they have lived experience about what to expect as a Black person or someone that is of the minority background, because it is common to always see that when it comes to some professions that is not considered to be maybe they think there is nothing that you can achieve there, and you eventually find your way, you've earned your way into that space. the look they first give you. And Toyin, you're not the only one, because my name is Timmy. Every time some of my contacts at work reach out to me, they'll say, hi, I hope he's, I hope they use the he for me because they think I'm a man working in cybersecurity. And then when they find out I'm, oh my God, it's always that embarrassment. I'm like, don't worry about it, I'm used to it. But we have to change that narrative, because women can also be trained. At the same time, we can hold professional roles, managerial roles, and things like that. So I always tell them, I'll forgive you this one time, but next time I'm not going to. So back to the business of green economy and talking about climate. I'm going to go around the table. It doesn't matter who answers this question. I want to, in your own way, the way you understand it, what is the definition of the green economy? What does it mean? Oh, Stephen seems to be saying something.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Mary, go.
So for me, I believe that the green economy is a sustainable model of the economy that is an alternative to what we have been practicing as a human race up until this point. It's a more inclusive economy that improves human well-being and supports organizations to build equity while reducing environmental risk, scarcity, enforcing human rights, and generally reducing the impacts that we as human beings have on the climate, on planet Earth, reducing our environmental impact. And there are several aspects to the green economy. Basically, what we usually would describe the whole green economy model under is sustainability. And there are three key aspects to that. That's the social aspect, the environmental aspect, and the economic aspect. And then under those three dimensions, sorry, I meant three dimensions rather. And then under those three dimensions, we have several aspects. Under environment, we could talk about waste, that's a separate topic. We talk about water, we talk about the forests, we talk about fauna and flora species. And then on the economic part, we talk about private and public sector organizations, the impact of transitions on these organizations and their ROIs, their return on investments. And then on the social part, we talk about human rights, we talk about environmental justice, environmental law, and all these aspects fit into the different dimensions of sustainability that build up to help us develop frameworks and methods that give us a more sustainable economy, which we call the green economy.
Wow, that's really blowing my mind now. You guys do that much?
we actually do, and it's across various industries. And a lot of times you would find that there are even specialists in these different aspects. One person cannot possibly cover all these aspects.
Wow. Stephen. Oh, sorry. I keep asking Stephen. The women are really ready.
No, bear me. I'm just kind of like following up on what Maria said. Basically, when they say sustainability, it is very, very broad. You know, my simple definition is it's a way we transition from a resource-intensive fossil fuel economy to think of alternative ways of doing things. And when you talk about sustainability itself, so Maria talked about the economic, the social, and the environmental part. There's a big more focus now on the governance part of it, where you have the ESG. So in terms of just tying everything together, and definitely, you know, because with my line of work, everybody thinks, you know, there's also the wider impact, because we can talk from today to tomorrow. You have the health benefits, the everything. It's all inclusive. It's basically the way human beings exist, whereby they can manage their resources in such a way that they use it now and they don't deprive the future generation to be able to use their own too.
Wow. Wow. Wow, Stephen, you guys, should I leave cybersecurity? Because I think I'm missing out of a few things now. Stephen, your thoughts?
I think there's two great definitions. I think the bit I would pick up on is around the inclusivity and the opportunity that there is there. So if you look at the green economy and the sectors and roles that are coming forward, we're going to need people to be able to do retrofit coordinators, installing solar PV, heat pumps, mechanics for electric vehicles. There's a whole host of jobs and careers that are being opened up by the transition. And I think one of the challenges that we've got, and one of the things that I see with my work, which does involve some direct involvement with creating courses to align for certain job market and opportunities, is that we need to maximize the opportunity with these new roles to make sure that we don't retrench and repeat the inequalities that exist in some sectors. So if we use that example of retrofit, it's completely different, but if we take, if we look at something like construction, typical construction, very male, very white dominated, there's a danger that that kind of demographic repeats in an area like retrofit. And there's no reason for it to, because retrofit is quite different. You can have much better conditions, different pay, whole host of career outcomes. So there's got to be quite a lot of work done in terms of, number one, showing the role models that are in these areas to show the groups who are underrepresented that, you know what, this is a viable, good career option, and breaking down some of the negative stereotypes that persist around certain roles because they're associated with how things were done kind of decades ago. So yeah, I think that's the main point for me, is around making sure that we're opening up the green economy to underrepresented groups, women, minorities, that haven't previously participated at the level that they should have. And ultimately, if we look at what's happening with some of the trends around employment because of Brexit, because of older people deciding to leave working. So in terms of then the skills gap and the people that we need to deliver this green transition, if we're not recruiting from the wide, diverse talent that is available, we're not going to have the numbers that we need to meet these targets. So obviously, from a human level, this is what we should be doing anyway, but ultimately, we won't meet any of these aspirations if we don't do a better job at recruiting more widely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, that is very interesting because I was thinking this conversation is just going to be around definition of the roles, and what the green economy was going to be like. But it's a very good thing that Stephen has opened up that aspect of, reskilling. So I'm going to ask those questions now. I have a lot of people on the call now, 53 people on the call, and I know one way or the other, at least they would have a graduate qualification. What can they do? What are those jobs like? What are the examples of the jobs? If someone had read computer science, like me, I have IT skills. What can I do? If someone else had read marketing, communication, how do they start fitting into these roles, ESG, retrofit, and things like that? What are the steps? So I don't know how you're going to frame your answers, but you generally have an idea what I'm talking about. The concerns that a lot of people would have with that would be around that line. So can you
Can I start with that?
Yes, please.
I happen to get a lot of people approach me, and what I first of all say is you need to know what area you're going to. So in terms of the kind of jobs available, so there's renewable energy. When we talk about solar panels, wind farm, wind, hydro, geothermal. There's also possibly in the energy efficiency technologies as well, people to do that. There's waste management, there's the sustainable agriculture. So we're talking about how to do regenerative farming, organic agriculture, permaculture, there's that part. There's a whole lot of the green transportation that is unraveling. There's also the blue-green infrastructure. So even with the housing, right now the government, because of the legislation, most rented houses now, every rented house has to be EPC, Energy Performance Rating C. There's a lot of housing stock. And coming from Scotland, a lot of Scotland's housing were listed buildings, which makes it a bit more tricky. And also there's a lot then. Right now within my organization, we've won basically 2 levels of social decarbonization housing from a fund, about 5.2 million. And the idea is to retrofit buildings. Retrofitting is very, very difficult in most cases. And so what we're struggling with is we have the money. So government give you the money. If you don't spend it, they take you back. So it's race to finish. And then we don't have certified pass assessors. Pass is like a certification you need to have to be able to get the housing upwards to, to a specific standard. So there's so much there. And then there's the blue-green infrastructure. So when people say environment, like take your time, study, research and decide which one you want to. But I understand that when you're starting as a graduate, you might not be quite narrowed. I've been fortunate to start from renewable energy and transition, and I've done private and public sector. So for the graduate role, most graduate scheme we're seeing now will give you an opportunity to test a few areas, and then you narrow down if you decide to. But then I also say, don't narrow yourself too much down as well, because there's so much opportunities out there. So for me, it's kind of like, there is so much. So first of all, think about what you want to do. And then, you can start to unpick what kind of things are within that. And it's because people say, I went to study a master's in energy and environmental technology, but most people don't start like that. Most people start and then they start to navigate this. So I keep saying in this field, you need to be flexible. You need to upskill a lot, because I've noticed that I've been fortunate with every new job. I've probably gone 3 levels ahead, and I've had to, half of the time you're the only person doing it. So you have to upskill really fast as well. And you take it up. So it's all about confidence building as well. The truth is there's nothing that you can't do if you put your mind to it.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. Thank you.
Right.
Wow.
Just to add to what Toyin said, my first degree was in forestry and wildlife. So I literally came out of the university as a fresh graduate with that indoctrination about what sustainability and climate impact and conservation means to us as a human race. And but I believe that people who are starting out in this sector today are more lucky than I was when I graduated, because now there is so much information. Everybody knows that this is a thriving sector. When you go for all the United Nations conferences, I mean, look at the, oh gosh, I can't remember the conference that held in Scotland. I think it was in 2021, COP21, right? It was everywhere on social media. So fresh graduates are able to get into the thick of things, join these conversations online, hear what people are talking about, and do some reflection to find out which aspect resonates with you as an individual and as a professional. And then you need to understand that for companies that run ESG strategies need the support of various departments to be able to implement these strategies across the organizations. So the governance body is not just sitting down, talking in meetings to just have a policy document that they would publish on their website and go. They want to see these things being implemented, and there have to be people in different departments who are able to take on that baton and see that the governance body's strategies are being implemented throughout the organization. So if you're in IT, you should be thinking about how to get into data management, because there are a lot of sustainability data reporting platforms. You have SEDEX, you have EcoVadis, you have Amphori BSCI, you have the SA800, you have SGS, you have Responsible Business Alliance. These are organizations, and this is just to mention a few. If you want more clarity, you can go online and just check sustainability data reporting platforms. So for somebody who is into data and tech, that is something you can get into, because we need people who are skilled in tech to be able to help sustainability professionals build these platforms and improve the usability so that people can get access to this data and apply in their organizations. And if you're somebody who's probably into journalism and communication, you can think of report writing reports, branding for organizations that are going green, and communication, social media marketing, getting the word out to let people know that these are the steps and the actions that the organizations are taking. If you work if you're an architect or you're an engineer, you work in construction, there's green building as well, where you don't just build for the sake of building and design. You build for the environment, for the climate. So you can get the required certifications in like built environment, for instance, add it to your degree certifications and let people know that you're not just an architect or an engineer or a chemical engineer. You are green oriented in the way you approach your career, and organizations would usually pick on that because it means that you would be a key person who would support them within your department to apply and implement their ESG strategies.
So many opportunities. I'm writing and I have to catch up on my video. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is really amazing. I can't believe all this. So everyone that has some sort of skills that right now can transit into green or sustainable opportunities.
Yes,
wow.
You can. You just have to be willing to learn, because I would say it's an agile industry. So things are changing really quickly, and we're using past learnings to inform future strategies. And every time they have all these conferences and they sit down, everybody brings all the data and information together from organizations, from government bodies, from different countries, and they say, okay, this is what has worked, this is what hasn't worked, so let's move in this direction, and all organizations follow. So you have to be willing to learn, and you have to learn really fast as well. So every industry would have a certification that would help you catch up on the industry trends for your specific skill set. And you need to be willing to pick up on those as they start to trend, because once the United Nations, for instance, we have the GRI reporting, that is, and the TCFD reporting. The GRI reporting was used to report ESG data by organizations for a while. And then in 2017, TCFD came up and said, we are going to be more applied in North America. So those of us who were using GRI and were studying the GRI, we now had to jump into TCFD and find out what the TCFD is saying. And then the SASB came up with theirs.
Wow.
You know, and then they said, this is another type of reporting. So you have to keep, even if you're not going to be certified in all those reporting frameworks, and I'm speaking as a project manager, you have to know what they are, know what the differences are, and even be able to defend the ones you already have as against those ones to keep up with the industry trends. But if you're not a person who likes to learn and relearn and unlearn, then you might struggle in this industry.
I totally relate. Working in cybersecurity, you have to be on your feet. Meaning, just like in your sector, things are moving very fast. Almost on a daily basis, we have different threats to information. You can hear over the last couple of days now, there have been so many attacks, so many ransomware. So if you think you are on top of your game today, by the time you wake up in the morning, something has changed. So if you're not really studying and not really ready, don't even bother us. But it's amazing. Stephen, you started this conversation about skilling. And
not going to let me sit here quietly. No.
No, I need to hear from you because you are heading a department.
Yeah, that's correct.
Net zero. So you would have come across quite a number of candidates that want to work in this sector. How do you manage the expectations of candidates or people that are trying to transit into this type of career?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. And in terms of the team I manage, you've got everything from graduates up to kind of older 40, 50-year-old people. So I wanted to approach it from the view of career change wherever you are in that cycle, not necessarily just from the graduate side. So I think for me personally, I had the route of a first degree, history and politics, and then I did a second degree, my master's degree, much later in Environment and Sustainability, Master of Science. But there is no prescribed route required to get into this space. You know, I had a lot of different kind of jobs that I was doing at the beginning of my career. And that's generally then the approach that I take to recruitment, to try and be open in terms of the skills and experience that people have got. The reality is not everybody is like that, though. So I think where you do identify an opportunity that you want to go for, you need to find a way of, even if you haven't nailed, you know, every qualification that they're asking for, you do need to find a way of demonstrating that you can do that role. But I think in terms of the career change side, there's a lot of roles that people could be doing where they've got certain soft skills, say marketing, communication. Don't necessarily love the phrase soft skills because it implies that they're somehow, you know, not as strong as something that's more engineering or whatever. But for sake of argument, you know, we'll say marketing, comms, that kind of stuff. And that people with those skills are trying to transition into an environment type of area. Well, you can't do this environment work without behavior change and communication, right? So there's opportunities there to apply those soft skills and transition in that way. However, there are roles, Mary and Olu were talking about them, which are very technical environment roles, you know, measuring emissions reduction, per kilowatt hour of how much solar power are you going to get from these devices. So it might be, unless you've got a specific engineering technical background, it might be harder to transition straight into that. But there might be a way to transition into that general area of environment employment, right? Start to build a base and then go on to do kind of more specific qualifications. And then I guess the final point for me would be, it's not necessary to be doing this master's degree. There's a lot of, we promote a lot of short courses when it comes to upskilling and things like that. And that's obviously much cheaper and a lot less demanding than doing a master's while you're working and stuff like that. So it's about identifying where you want to go and figuring out what's the proportionate, the right level of upskilling and extra commitment in order to get there. Because you could go in and do a master's degree, but actually, if you haven't tried that area of work first, you're not super confident that you want to be in that area. Well, you spend a lot of money and 2 years on a master's degree, right? So maybe try something that's a little bit less intense as a short course, give it a go. And then if you really want to then excel in that area, then you might go for further qualifications. But again, you know, it's an individual thing. If you're really passionate about that area as well, it's not just a career thing, and you've got the means, then why not go and do a master's and really dig into it and then use that as a platform for enhancing the career in that space. So lots of different pathways, I guess, is overall what I'm trying to say. But ultimately, you know, I'm recruiting a project manager at the moment. I'm not going to give the post for free. You know, it's a competitive thing. I'll give somebody an opportunity, but they need to demonstrate to me that at some level they're going to be able to do it. If I don't have that confidence, they're not going to get that role, basically.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm so confident now. I know that I saw a few people, you know, messaging me directly and saying they are quite interested. What I'm hoping I can do is to create another session to actually deep dive into, you know, those areas of opportunities that are there for career transitioning. And you've really broken it down, guys. I really appreciate that. And I think Mary has her hand up. She wanted to chip in something.
Yes, I just wanted to chip in something on the back of what Stephen said. And when you're looking at opportunities, I just wanted to also add that there are opportunities in the public sector, in the private sector, in the not-for-profit sector, and in multilateral organizational sector. We're talking about, so when I talk about public sector, for instance, Stephen and Toyin work for the council. So those are government organizations that have opportunities for sustainability. And then the private sector, you have companies such as mine, like SEDEX, and all the other private companies or environmental consulting firms that do this. And then you can go further on to look at organizations like the UN and all the sub-organizations under that as well that would offer opportunity for career growth and learning. And then even in organizations such as the World Bank, IFC, and these large global organizations that we know about, they also require people with skills in sustainability. So it's really about, like Stephen said, gaining experience and not necessarily about the degrees. If you have to volunteer to gain experience, be humble enough to volunteer. I remember my first project management experience. I volunteered for an institute in Nigeria, and that was my introduction to social sustainability, and some of the research skills I gained in that institute have helped me till today. So sometimes that volunteering experience, little as it might be, even if it's 1 day a week, would eventually add up to positioning you as someone who does have experience, a little bit of experience in the industry. Another thing I would like to point out is the fact that I find that with people in the Black community especially, we hardly do our research to find out what works, especially in diaspora. It's not just something, you have to follow the systematic approach in the place that you are looking to plug yourself into, and then find out what's the niche area for you is and what gray areas you can plug into. It's different from when we have careers in Africa where you just send a CV, or you can pick up the phone to call someone and they'll call someone and then you get in. Here, you really need to do your research and then tailor your application to fit into the gap that you have found. And it becomes easier that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so much. And we can't finish talking about the opportunities and how you can transit into it tonight. So this is very interesting. So you wants to chip in as well?
Yeah, can I just add in terms of it? So like they've said a lot of things. I'm also saying within every organization that has a reputational image to make right now would have something for you, because everyone is transitioning. We're basically, the way I look at it is this whole climate change is happening, and it's happening really fast. We're already miles ahead behind. So everybody's racing towards it, because there's always somewhere to plug yourself. Coming from a public sector, whatever, I know within my organization, we have a lot of university students doing voluntary roles. Like now, swamped. I'm involved in like 16 projects at the same time right now. And we get university people to come and do that short thing just to get, workload to get it off. So in terms of that, in terms of like early careers, you can plug into a lot of public sectors. They do that. I know a lot of we work with a lot of universities that do those roles where you can come in and work for what? Is it 4 weeks to 6 weeks to 8 weeks? So those are opportunities as well. And basically be open, be flexible. It's constantly evolving. I keep saying you need to be forward thinking. So within my field, I'm still upskilling because I realize there's a lot of gap within data and climate change. So I'm upskilling to be able to plug that part. So it's, when you're in the job or when you're searching, think, what will they need? I remember my early career, I literally got a list of organizations and I emailed them saying, this is what I think they need. And based on that, I got a job, but I was able to do consultancy for a couple of organizations, basically because I said, you have a problem, I can help you solve it,
I just wanted to say quickly, I think we've talked a lot about upskilling, and that can maybe be thought of as a very formal thing. But I think one thing and we've touched on it, this environment space, and it's the same for you, Timmy, with the cybersecurity and stuff, it's such an emerging, evolving area that when we're talking about keeping learning and keeping up to date, this isn't necessarily through formal courses and stuff. You've got to be reading and consuming a wide range of material just to kind of stay ahead and know how things are changing, evolving. And that's sometimes as well how you can spot opportunities and be able to apply for those opportunities or use them in your own work and kind of get ahead by spotting something that somebody has missed, because, you know, they're just sort of doing the normal work, but not finding a bit of time to do some of that extra reading as well. I mean, you got to have a life as well. You got to enjoy yourself. But the reality is, to stay on top of the fields we're in, there is quite a lot of wider reading that's needed, whether it's news, government reports that come out, consultancy reports that are produced, and different things.
Well, that is amazing. Well, it seems to me that the opportunities are there. We just need to do something about our skills that we already have, or find a way to volunteer to get some experience. And I tell people, when you volunteer, you're not wasting your time. You are actually supporting your future with whatever you want to do. So I'm really happy to hear from you guys that have been there and you're still there, seeing other people coming in and the routes they are coming in via. So thank you very, very much. We spent so much time talking about the opportunities. Now I want to ask a quick question. We're talking about jobs, fantastic. What about the business? Are there business opportunities in green economy? Can our people go for it? What are those business opportunities looking like?
I'll answer very quickly, Timmy, because I've got to go after this one.
7, yeah.
I think that's where there needs to be improvement, to be honest. I don't see enough involvement when it comes to, areas which we look at is small, medium enterprises. We look at entrepreneurialism, micro enterprises and stuff like that in the green innovation and enterprise space. And we're here in London, and I don't see hardly nearly enough kind of, black run, black owned or black director type of smaller businesses in this space. It seems to be the kind of environment, clean tech, SME side. It is very much predominantly white. So I think it's area that needs tackle, and maybe I need to work harder at finding those companies. But I would struggle to say to you now, I know these type of companies run by these women and these minorities who are kind of innovators and disruptors in the field. I'm not saying that obviously I'm here in London, so you're seeing more. It's still not enough, but you're starting to see slightly more people like me in company roles, public sector body, consultancy bodies, still very much in the minority. But I don't see it translating to those small, medium enterprises. Do you know what I mean? So curious what others think, but that's sort of my experience, and that's I think an area of major improvement.
Thank you. Thank you. If you say in London you don't see it, that means it doesn't exist in Scotland.
Yeah, it's fair comment. It's fair comment.
I kid you not, because
you're right. If you're not seeing it here, then where are you seeing it? Yeah, it's fair.
London. So I random sampling of, have you even heard about green economy? And I threw out a survey, and say 100 people responded. Probably 4 people have told me they heard about green economy. So I'm even going to tell them there are businesses opportunities for them in the economy they don't even know about. So thank you very much for that. It's frank. It's one of the data we are taking back to the policymakers in Scotland, that if in England there are not so much, we're wondering where our people are. And we know that Black people are very entrepreneurial. So I know that Stephen said he will be leaving 7 sharp. So I want everyone to just have a quick look at this man that is going to be leading somewhere in the space when you talk about net zero beyond where he is right now. I want to say thank you for your time, for your expertise, and for sharing your lived experience. Would have loved to have you longer, but yes, thanks a lot. I will be reaching out again because it seems we are not getting enough of this sustainability business. So thank you very much again, Stephen. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I've put a message in there. If anybody wants to chat or connect on LinkedIn, or and happy to support future discussions or activities of what you're doing.
Yes,
thanks.
We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Mary, Olu, Timmy. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. So we still have Toyi, and we still have Mary from all the way from Canada. So over to you, ladies. It seems it's a women thing now. So let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah, sorry, just wanted to add in terms of, the enterprise part of it, there's a whole lot, like, we need to start to think of what solution can we offer to this very evolving, rapidly emerging industry. So things like, one thing I'm seeing, so recently within my organization, we kind of like gave a voice to the public. And what I'm seeing is there's a lot around food, sustainable food sourcing. That is a whole new ball game entirely to start to unpick, in terms of sustainable food shopping, in terms of sustainable fashion. So people are looking into sustainable fashion. I'm just thinking of, things that you generally see Black people do. Sustainable fashion. We're beginning to see, within my own community work, we're beginning to see people with sustainable skincare, organic stuff. So there's space for that. Don't just think it's just the, and the ecotourism as well. There's so much to be done in terms of that. And for my organization as well, what we've recently done, because when you talk about scope 3 emissions, it's more difficult for people to work because that's a supply chain thing. What we've done recently is to put a carbon criteria into our procurement process so that we can allow small SMEs, smaller organizations, to bid for public government contracts, because it's usually too big and then they don't feel they can match up. But we've broken down into some smaller segments so that smaller people, smaller organizations can come and bid for public sector contracts. So just wanted to add that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So we have business opportunities. We're just not opening our eyes. Actually, when it talks to sustainable fashion, I had this idea I discussed with someone that is in sustainability in Scotland, and she said we need to meet. That she's quite keen to discuss African fashion with me. And I'm like, you're Scottish, what do you know about African fashion? Apparently she's seen my project on Scot Africa, and she said she wants to see how we can collaborate. And I'm thinking in my head, that is a huge business opportunity when she started sending me some information. And I'm like, how am I going to live my life without tapping into this opportunity, and I'll lose it? So I'm really keen to also hear from Mary, business opportunities that you think our people can pick up, something we're not even thinking about, something that is staring us right in our faces, because a lot of people that I know naturally are entrepreneurs. Maybe they don't want to do the 9-to-5 jobs, but they want to explore business opportunities. What are your thoughts, please?
I think, first of all, one thing that because I did a master's in environmental strategy at University of Surrey, of course, after several years of experience. And one thing I picked up from my master's program was the fact that we Africans, we non-Westerners, are the definition of sustainability. Everything that we have done as a people in terms of civilization was taking us away from sustainability into typical non-secular economics, if I put it that way. So the way we live, the way we dress, the way we eat, the way we build our homes in the traditional African context, the way we relate, if you check the principles of sustainability and some of the policies and the science of sustainability, you would realize that what the Westerners are chasing, like this is where we should go, is where we have been since. So sustainability for us as minorities is actually taking us back to where we started. And when you think about it like this, it could mess with your mind.
Wow.
A lot, because you start to think, is there any use of development? You people told us we are coming to develop this, and you put cars on our roads, and you this, and you that. But now you're telling us we should go back. I mean, there's a lady who came to talk to us in the class, because we used to have a lot of seminars, and we'll have people from all these big organizations come. I can't remember her name, but she's a cycler and she's fighting for them to take cars off the road because of carbon emissions. And she says cycling and walking is the way to go. She doesn't travel abroad. She stopped traveling abroad for years because she said she wants to reduce her carbon footprints and she wants to be a role model for other people to reduce that carbon footprints. And my grandparents were cycling. They did not know any car. So you brought this development to us. And now you are trying to tell us to stop. And where the conflict area is that people in the part of the world most affected by climate change are saying, you've enjoyed the benefits of development. You've taken our resources and developed. And now you are telling us to stop development because your land or your space has been negatively affected by the development that you thought was going to make you better than us. So as an African, sustainability is in you. It's inside of you. You don't know it. And this is where the imposter syndrome or the complex of the Black person comes in. Because if you've constantly looked at that as a better way, remember that they are saying your way is better, let's reverse. When you sit down and think about it, you realize that the way you dress is a more sustainable way. You don't have to use high-tech machines to make your clothes. A simple needle and thread running through low carbon emission cloth manufacturing. So let's say you're a fashion designer, you can market your stuff as low carbon production, low carbon manufacturing. I don't use extensive machines like you use in China to make your jeans and your t-shirts. I use simple machines, low carbon. I burn XX amount of fuel. My carbon footprint in my production site is low. You have sold yourself as a sustainable brand easily.
As a marketing strategy on its own.
Simple. It doesn't have to be. Forget when they put it in the brand and they make it colorful. It's nothing. I go through factory audits. So I see it's really not that serious. We are sustainability.
So we're using our palm produce for palm oil, burning and all that, degrading it all, everything is useful. That's sustainability.
That is sustainability. That is the simpler, the leaner way to live life without high-level consumerism and all these excesses that they sold to us as the way. They are trying to revert to our way because they are seeing that their way is pushing the earth towards its climatic limits. And unfortunately, while these resources were taken from us there, we are now the ones who are negatively affected by these climate actions. And we are the ones having to speak up against it. And that's why your role as a Black person in this industry is very key. You need to understand that you are sustainability. The way you live naturally is sustainable. Even the way you relate with people, you foster relationships. That is social sustainability. It is what they are trying to get people to do through sensitization. So if you have a fashion brand and you say, I use very simple machines to make my outfits, so therefore my brand is sustainable. It has very low carbon footprint. You've sold it. That's your business. You don't even have to start a new business. You can start from the business you have. You make your creams and your lotions with shea butter. We have Body Shop and L'Occitane selling shea butter and making that we are such a sustainable brand. But you are making shea butter in your house. You are already sustainable. Your grandmother she's been using shea butter all her life. That is sustainability. You have people, you have people selling food produce. For instance, the plantain chips that we ship to this part of the world. You can model a story around how those chips are gotten from the farm and exported to this part of the world. I own a plantain farm in Nigeria. I use the produce from the plantain farm to better the lives of people in that community. And I produce chips and I send it to the UK to be sold in African shops and in Sainsbury's, where we often see plantain chips. That is the story. So it's really not about creating something new. It's about leveraging on what you already know and believing that what you know as an African is valuable. You see, this whole diversity and inclusion strategy that has come out now is because they have identified the value in us. Our work ethics, our way of thinking, our approach towards situations is not a singular type of thing that you see in other cultures. Our way works for us. We live longer. Our health is, the food we eat is different. So we are more healthy into old age. we build better human relationships. We have little, but we are satisfied. They see that. And that's why they're saying, diversity and inclusion, come in and show us how you have done this and still taken some of our culture and added to what you know and become these rounded people.
The last time I checked, Mary, I saw them selling paku, as in paku, our own tooth.
Yes.
It's all about branding.
They will brand it, and that's the toothbrush my grandparents have been using. And they're saying sustainable toothbrush. They use charcoal and the chewing stick. That's what we use.
We are refusing that.
So we have
charcoal to whiten your
and we've
teeth.
taken their toothpaste. Can you see what we're saying? So it starts with you rejigging the way you think about yourself as an African and saying, what I am offering to the world, what I am offering to organizations is valuable. And preserve that value and look into it and then see how you can, especially if you're bringing a product that is sourced in Africa, tell the story of that product, tell it and retell it. And as you continue to retell it, you will see that there is sustainability at the heart of that product you are selling.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Mary. I was just going to say, Dr. Shonubi has been putting a lot of details on resources. Thank you very much. And just to add to that, sincerely speaking, nobody blows your trumpet like you blow your trumpet. You know, the bulk of the job we do is behavioral change. I'll give you an example. So we had this massive project that we did in Aberdeen City. They were trying to grow their own, making people go back to farming. Like, it's not rocket science. And you realize, because another thing I'm thinking, the kind of prevalent diseases around the place, the only common thing we have is food. Food itself is one of the biggest emitters of carbon. They're talking organic, they're talking whatever. It's about going back to how we used to do things. So like she said, you know, we need to understand our value and use our value. And there's a lot, as you said as well, there's a lot of telling a story about how you came about the journey. We tend to miss that. I keep saying the world is more global now and so more distance. How you connect to those root source of how we did things. Tell your story. There's a lot about climate anxiety coming on because the headlines just show you this is this, this is this, this is that. But we need to make it relatable. I also, within my work, I'm learning to change my language. I don't say change your behavior. It's about varying those behaviors slightly. In Nigeria, they will say, Olowo tonosan. You switch on your electricity during the day to show you are rich. They're telling you, why don't you turn it off once in a while? Why don't you vary it? It's the way we live. I feel sustainability is you, and it encompasses everything. Within my organization, they put sustainability. We have financial, climate, and legal. It's at the same level. It covers every single thing that we do. So just to add to that, so it's a thinking mindset. It's how we organize ourselves on a day-to-day basis to make sure that I'm doing something, but I'm not adversely impacting on my environment or the people to come after.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is giving me a lot to think about in terms of business. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Olu Shokunbi. You have been contributing so much, and I will reach out to you. Thank you. Bayo is saying our panelists today are very, very, they know their stuff, don't they? They are exclusively unique. Thank you so much. I can't believe we are getting so much out of them, and they are still not tired of giving us so many of this. So thank you for everyone that is contributing in the chat session. I will be picking up that my admin is working very hard with me today. So thank you very much for letting people in. And we've heard about the job opportunities. The business opportunities really opening up my mind. I'm not even going to talk. I will maybe bring you back to talk about, you know, the business opportunity side and the job opportunity side on different occasions, because this, if we start talking about it now, we will not finish. And this is really, really interesting. Now, going into, we talked about the business and the jobs. What do you think the government, are they doing enough to reach us? Because I have written like how many ministers, and they've been replying me, and they are quite keen to see that we are, you know, not left behind. But I know that, well, I don't want to presume, and I don't want to speak for you. What do you think the government is doing? What do you think they should be doing, or the policymakers? What do you think they should be doing? And how do you think we should be responding?
So first things first, I personally believe the government is not doing enough they should be doing. Unfortunately, we've had COVID, and on the back of COVID, we have the life of living crisis, as they call it. So the truth is, with a lot of this renewable energy, this source and low carbon technology, lots of them are still not totally market saturation stage. They still need a lot of money to pump into development, research, making it mainstream so that it's affordable enough for the average Joe to be able to get it. So in terms of that, so right now, government can be quite myopic the way I think about it, because I work closely with the government in terms of where they think. They're focusing a lot on the buildings, which is quite right, but there's still other areas to focus on. So there's a lot of money out there for retrofitting houses, there's a lot of funds available. I think for me, there's a lot on education and just skill gap. The governments can invest in that as well. As much as we are telling people to go and retrain, the government needs to be able to put resources in place to enable people to be able to retrain. In terms of partnership and collaboration as well, I also think, it's very much within this field because it's such a new, evolving, emerging area. We don't know it all. So the government also needs to do a lot of partnership and collaboration within themselves in terms of how to get from point A to point B. There's a lot of working that needs to be done in terms of that. I also think in terms of financial support, the government needs to pump a lot of money into a lot of these things. Right now, as I said, they do have funds for social decarbonization. They have funds for a few things, but there's still a lot of things that the government needs to do. So in terms of that, I'm thinking, we need to lobby the government more. We need to lobby them in terms of, how they put their money where their mouth is, if you can, put it in short. Because there's this new environmental bill that has come out. There's a lot they want to do. There's a lot of ambition out there, but how do you bring those ambition into implementation, into becoming mainstream way of life and of working? So it's, that's, just to summarize it. If you get me started on what the government can do, I have a whole lot, but we can connect later.
I am going to call you back. We're going to have a chat because I have a meeting coming on and I'm not going to go there like someone that is green or doesn't know what I'm talking about. You know what they should be doing and ought to be doing, but they are lagging behind. So thank you for that.
I'm happy to
I'm still
have
going
that
to ask.
conversation.
I'm still going to ask what you think we as Black people should be doing. But I want Mary to also contribute from our own perspective, what you think the government should be doing.
I think the government, sorry, are we talking about the government in
Everywhere.
the UK or?
Because I know if we start talking about Nigeria now, we'll not leave.
The times in my career when I have liaised with government bodies have mostly been in Nigeria. So I've not really done much with government in the UK. It's mostly been in Nigeria.
How lucky were you with that?
Oh Lord, I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, I know.
I know that there were times when projects were cancelled because people in the government did not understand why we were going green when they were still trying to use the circular economic models to run the project. And the projects will get cancelled because we cannot find a common ground. And I just feel that people in government should really educate themselves on the impact of our economic activities on our countries. Like just really educate yourself, really immerse yourself on these things, into these things rather, and you would understand why there's such an uproar about it. Another thing that I feel that, like Tony had said initially, the governance of sustainability dimensions is an aspect that we are yet to really get a good grasp on, because we have everybody saying it's this, it's that, and then we have fewer people who are holding on the baton for change. For instance, in 2020, the UK government came out to say, we're doing net zero 2030. That singular announcement just opened job opportunities everywhere because all organizations were now running around looking for sustainability specialists to come and help them because the government now made it mandatory for that to happen. And it doesn't mean that there are no gaps and loopholes in these policies that have been enacted. But I feel that if every government takes that approach and sets a deadline and sticks to it keenly, and then organizations operating within that location will naturally follow suit, will begin to talk more about these things and ask themselves questions and say, what do we do to meet this target that the government has set for us? But for that to happen, people in government have to educate themselves on the importance and see how, why these activities are impacting the planet. So for me, I feel that climate action and sustainability is a way to salvage the future generation. There's this young lady called Greta Thunberg. I'm not sure how many of us have heard of her. She's a teenager.
Yeah, she's very vocal about it.
She's vocal. And when you see her talking all these in the UN conferences and all these global seminars, she's saying, you are not doing enough to keep the world preserved for my generation. We are going to suffer for the things you are enjoying now. So you need to stop. And she's very vicious sometimes in the way she speaks because she sees it as an emergency. But that is because she has immersed herself into the problem and she has seen the long-term consequences of what we are doing now and how it would affect her in 50 years' time. And that's why she's speaking and she's very vocal. So I feel that if people in government can actually not just have the conversation, but immerse yourself in what climate action actually means, climate impact means, and sustainability means, you can find ways to govern better and support policy development to help us in this industry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is
sorry, I'm just putting some details in the chat box as well. Those are just links. I kind of spent some time just researching links of resources people can get into, just, you know, in terms of Black minorities, people that focus on it. So they just links and, you know, you can do your own further research. But
green future. Thank you very, very much. Maura, thank you. I see you. I see a lot of my team here on the call. I can't even believe. Thank you. This conversation is so interesting. I'm making note. Like I said, I have a meeting very soon and I need to grab you as my sustainability expert into that conversation so that we can, number one, call at the table and then come with information. Because when you go to a meeting and you don't know what is being discussed, you might be cutting yourself, you know, short when it comes to negotiation. So thank you very much for this. This is really, really interesting conversation. I mean, we're holding people in a call like they're not even willing to go. So that tells you something that we're doing something right. Now, in terms of, we've heard what the government is saying. I know for one, Black and Scot is ready to roll with this. We are keen to keep pushing the agenda. What do you think we, individual, beyond just as a group or as an organization, individuals, what should we do about green economy? Not just, you know, how it affects us, but what should we be doing to get people to understand that we are really the one that is being left behind in this conversation?
Personally speaking, I think with sustainability as well, what we tend to look, a lot of people are looking at the mitigation part. Meanwhile, there's an adaptation part of it. So in terms of some damage has been done, we will still get the consequences of those damage years to come. But in terms of we as individuals, what can you do? Because the average person, when you talk about sustainability, they think it's such a big issue for the big companies or the big industries to do. But no, how do you affect your environment? I have my little ones and I'm telling them, I have waste bins. You cannot contaminate it. How does that speak of me when I'm telling other people not to recycle their waste? So in terms of, because what I look about is you're bothered about maybe America not doing their bit. What are you doing within your environment? Take, for instance, when we had COVID, myself and my family, we do a lot of work. And my children at one point are like, Mommy, the air in Aberdeen smells cleaner. Just because we stopped driving, you could notice that difference.
Wow.
You know, so don't think about it's because people say, I'm not doing anything. Your little matters. That's I'm reducing my waste. I'm not using plastic. And it's not automatic. That's why I say, even with the lingo we're doing it, how do you vary your behavior, not change it? An average individual, when you tell them change, they slam a door shut at you because we're so used to a way. But how do I turn off that water today? I'll give you an example. My children in Scotland, because water is with the Scottish council tax, they will literally be in that bathroom for 1.5 hours. You'll be chasing them out. Then we moved to England. I said, hey, we pay for what? At least we see the water bill that we pay for. So we had the challenge. Now my children literally have 10 minutes bath showers. This is 1.5 hours. And then when you get there 1.5 hours, that child doesn't even put soap on her body. And then they're having it. But now, like literally, because we made it like competition. We made it whatever, challenge. Now I'm trying to reduce it to 5 minutes. Wow. But coming from 1.5 hours to whatever, and Because when I keep saying there's a generation that was lost, our generation are probably like, because when they start to imbibe those things, then it grows with them, then it becomes a behavior. It's a way of life. Sustainability is your way of life. It's you. It's how you live. And this is how, you know, we as individuals can do it. Start to vary our behavior, start to whatever, because the essence of climate change is the damage human activities has done to the atmosphere.
Wow, thank you. Mary?
Sorry, I lost the question halfway. I just got engrossed in what Toyi was saying.
What can we do as Black people in this to, you know, be relevant in the green economy and contribute into the green economy?
Right. One thing we need to do is, first of all, we need to tell our stories. Tell your story. When somebody comes to you with something that looks like it's so special, if you know a different context where that thing is being done, be quick to say it. Oh, that's what my grandmother used to do 50 years ago. Why are you making it look like it's so special? Let them know that you know this thing. It's not, what you're telling me is not new. It might be new to you, but it's not new to me. And that way they become curious and they want to ask you more questions and say, okay, how did she used to do it? What used to happen? And then that's how you take the power in that conversation from, you know, them, if you know what I'm talking about, to say, what you're telling me is not new because I am aware. You know, my traditional education makes me aware that such a thing is possible. Right. So my knowledge is valid in this context, and you can't take that away from me. I have lived without electricity. I won't die if the electricity goes out now. Never. I know it.
Are you sure?
I know it. I've lived. I can study with a lantern.
Okay? Are you sure?
So when you're lighting a fireplace and you're making it look like it's magical because you turn up your she's like, well, this
really,
is
we had the blinker and they flipped the other day and I was panicked.
Because
you just had to make, because you've gotten used to it. But I'm sure if push comes to shove and you had a blackout, you wouldn't be as panicked as a typical person who hasn't lived in Africa before.
That's true, because we had one of the storms earlier this year and late last year. For about 24 hours, there wasn't any light. The only concern that I had was that I was getting cold, but it was nothing to me. I grew up Nepal, you know. It was nothing to me. And then we have this group chat that we have in the community, the neighborhood. And people were buying this. I'm like, really? Just buy candle.
Right. Exactly. Buy candle, use your fireplace, and you'll be fine. We live the low energy. We don't consume a lot of energy as Africans. So anytime you're in a conversation at work, at a conference, and somebody talks about, you know, a sustainable lifestyle that is like is like a big deal, and you can resonate with that at some point in your life, just state it clearly and say, I know this thing, okay? It's not fantastic. You probably don't know, but I do. And that's how you let people know that you understand the science behind sustainability. Another thing you can also do is take action in your local communities. Take action, join climate action groups, join the conversations. Don't just leave it for people from, you know, people who are British or Scottish, you know, join the organizations, join the conversations and share your experience as a Black person. They know that the global South and the global East have been most affected by economic activities, by climate impact, have been most impacted by climate degradation activities. They know. So we should join the conversation because we are a bridge between them and the traditional African. We are in between. So they are looking up to us to speak up, to tell them what they can do, how they can go about it, what they need to do to help, you know, somebody in Africa or, you know, a country, a village that's probably going through drought because all their water resources have been depleted by, you know, climate-related activities, or, you know, they want to know what that information looks like. A lot of these Westerners also, they donate money to anybody that comes to say, oh, I'm going to Africa to change a whole, they'll just give you thousands of pounds because they don't understand the context. And some people take advantage of that and don't even do anything with that. So you take action. If you know a little way that a community in Africa can be positively affected, you sell that to people and let people know that this is what you can do if you want to reduce the effect of climate change on these communities and be part of that discussion. And, you know, who knows, an organization might probably be born of that. But I think keeping quiet is one of the disservices we do to ourselves.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I saw a couple of days ago, one opportunity was going on, I think it's closed now, £50,000 for you to come up with a sustainable idea or project, and they will serve it. And I looked at the people they have funded in the past. One gentleman from Scotland went all the way to Ghana. You know, these plants we use for mats.
Raffia.
This guy went all the way from Scotland to Ghana, imported it from Ghana via the ship so that it can have a lower emission instead of flying it. And what it does is to process it, get them to process it, pay them. And what are they using it for? To stop erosion at the seas here. We don't have it here. I'm like, my goodness, we throw this away in Nigeria. And he got £50,000 funding for that.
Yes.
But, and then that is probably, maybe he bought 50,000 naira for just worth of what he bought. Look at how he's transforming his environment. Look at how he's helping his environment to, you know, stop erosion and stop other things from coming inwards and just stopping it at the bank. And I'm like, we throw things like that away. So I'm asking what we can do as Black people, because sometimes with imposter syndrome get over us and we think, what can I do? I don't think we have anything. But we have a lot, we do. And the reason why I asked that is because I want everybody to leave this place with a decision to say, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to do something about not just preserving the environment for my future. How can I get involved today? Not live for my own good, but also if we can bring change to my pocket, why not? Why can't I? Let me do it, because if people that are in other wider communities are thinking and doing it, going back to Africa to get our resources inwards, then we know the place we all grew up from, Africa, or from other parts of Black, you know, background that we came from. We know the resources we have. What can we do to bring those resources in and let them know? So I don't want anyone on this call to think, okay, I'm too old to go and start a career in sustainability, but you can do business. You can get involved in conversations. You can join groups. They're looking for people on the board of environment. They want you to come serve. They want you to come and bring your thoughts, your decision making. How can we? They're looking for people that are of our color, of our intellect, to say, we are doing something wrong by not including you, but you are here. What do you think your people need? We need to be up and doing, guys. They're really looking for us. They're looking up to us to contribute, especially in climate discussions. It's not all about just thinking it's, because when people talk about climate, the only thing we talk about is flood. And I don't know why all of us, almost everybody had to talk about, what do you know about climate change? Or is it not the flood that is disturbing them in India? Because it goes beyond just the flooding. Flooding is part of it that we are hoping will stop, but it goes beyond just the flooding. It's about every day. I am Ijebu. I know us Ijebu, we like our parties. In my head, I see us buying Ashwebi every week. Is that even sustainable practice? Every month, what do we do with those Ashwebi after we've bought them?
You can't even take them to charity here.
We can't. I don't even want to talk about the things I have that I know that, and then we'll have to spend money again to send them back to Nigeria for people that need it. It doesn't make sense. How can we recycle all those things to make money? So thank you very much.
Can I just add, in terms of that Ashwebi, I have a friend who basically took all our laces for our engagement, and she's repurposed them to do like covers for our benches and things like that. If you're into upholstery, like having like our house, having a bench that has our own ashoke that she used for engagement as a cover is just lit. So in terms of that, you can repurpose with all those things.
Wow.
Yes,
I know about the sofa cushions, or the throws, the pillows. I have a friend that is doing that as well. I have a friend that is using all those agbada that men use. We purpose it, make it for little kids, things like that. we can do a lot with what we already have, but people are always thinking about something new, something new, something new. But I know definitely it's 7:33, which I wanted to 7:30. I can't believe we've had this conversation.
It's been interesting.
Very, very. Before we would go, I just want to flash these people up quickly. They made this happen because when I started talking to them, that's my little one, that they made this event happen. I started talking to them and said, you know, I'm just going to share my screen. When I told them that this conversation, Climate Fringe was last week. And I told them that we had an event for our men that I don't think I'm going to be able to participate. And the gentleman, Brian, he said, no, Black people need to be involved. And that really, 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 you know, made me to be quite convinced that really this is a time we should be involved, really and truly. Because Climate Fringe was the first week, the first Monday last week till Friday, it ended then. And I said we can't, because that Friday was already booked for the diversity and event that we had for our men. And he said no, because he knows that we have been excluded. And this is time we need to start getting Black people included in the conversation. And so I want to say thank you to Climate Fringe. They are sponsored also. It's an outspin of Stop Climate Chaos. They want to talk about Black people and their inclusion. And so I want to say thank you to them for making this happen. And also I want to say thank you to Toyin, thank you to Mary, thank you to Stephen. You guys have been amazing, and I can't wait to have you back, because all the messages I'm getting personally, people are sending me message personally that can we bring these ladies back? Can we bring them back? They can see that, you know, you have so much to give. You have so much to contribute to this conversation, especially in terms of career opportunities and business opportunities. I saw someone, maybe it was you, Mary, sharing somebody that got funding for 100,000 for yes. a business in Nigeria. And these are things we're not even talking about. 100,000 will set somebody up for a very long time. You know, in time we're talking about dollars, not even naira. You know, so I want us to continue this conversation. I hope when I call again, you will be happy to join us in the future. So thank you. If you have any final words, you know, I'm happy to hear from you guys.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been very interesting. I'm always very happy to help anyone. I definitely want to see more of me and more of us in the society. And Timmy, definitely, this discussion's just started, so we will talk. But reach out to me. I've dropped my email address there. Reach out to me, and you know, I do send opportunities on the groups that Timmy is probably in a lot of them with me about things that come up, because they do come up all the time. So I'm happy to be involved, basically.
Thank you. And guys, you can look out for Toyin on LinkedIn. If you're already on LinkedIn, please send her a connection. She'll be happy to connect with you and guide you as we go. I'm going to sign her up as a climate mentor at Black and Scot. Whether she likes it or not, she's not going anywhere. So Mary, please.
Well, congrats on your new appointment, Toyin.
And you too, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
Don't be too quick to congratulate me. You don't know what she has in store for you.
Just to appreciate you for this opportunity, Timmy. To be honest with you, it's usually a burden in my heart whenever I walk into spaces and I just see everywhere is just snow white. So when you mentioned it to me, I said, oh wow, this is something that I had been thinking about. Oh, what to do with Black people in this community? Because sometimes I feel like what we lack most of the time is information. I wasn't at a space also in my life when I did not have all the information I have now. So I understand, you know, that some of us just don't have this information because it's not something we prioritize in our communities, in our discussion. So I appreciate the fact that the opportunity to speak up about this and to share every little information I have with as many people as possible. And I'll be happy to do it over and over again. So thank you everyone for coming as well. You can reach out to me, Mary Takon. If you can find me everywhere. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You will find me somewhere.
Thank you. And if you really need to reach out to them, you have my email, you have Black and Scot number, and you have our website. Just email us that you would like to reach out to Mary, Stephen, or Tony. Once again, thank you. And thank you all for being an amazing audience. I know you would have wanted to ask some questions, but I promise this is the first. We're going to bring more conversations your way. So you would have, come with your question. I'm happy to schedule more opportunities in the green economy space. We are not going anywhere very soon. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your audience. It's Friday night and it's warm over here in Aberdeen. I know it's warmer somewhere else. So have a good weekend and thanks again.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye. I'll reach out to you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you.
You're welcome, Timmy. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Debbie.
you.
I hope you all got something out of this.
Definitely. Definitely.
Thank you.
Timmy, can I get the recording as well? Just because there's a lot in the chats, if we
Yes.
can unpick that, yeah.
Yes, I am just going to stop recording now. It will be uploaded shortly.